Hey, hello everyone, and welcome to our special online hackathon spotlight from Amsterdam to Belgrade. This is a slightly different event that we usually do, but I think it's going to be quite interesting since the conference season started and we've been actively participating in quite a few hackathons. We thought that it makes sense to kind of highlight what we're seeing from the past hackathons, and of course, what we're hoping to see from the future ones as well. So here today, I'm joined by our amazing Oasis BD team. So we have Marco, Robert, Will, and myself, and we'll do a quick recap of EDAM that happened. I think it was beginning of this month, and we're going to ETH Belgrade beginning of June. So the said schedule is quite packed. We're also going to ETC end of June, beginning of July. So the conference and hackathon season is in full effect. So if we first talk a little bit about EDAM, so this is our second year where Oasis has been the main sponsor. It is also one of the most privacy-focused ETH events throughout the year. So that's why we also selected to be the main sponsor of ETHDAM. And of course, we had quite a few great speaking engagements there from Marco's interview of AI Satoshi, which I think was quite interesting to see all those potential Satoshis, as an AI persona. I think it went well. I think it's online. I don't know if it's on X on YouTube, but if you search, you can definitely find it. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. We also had some good talks and workshops around liquefaction, which is the paper that was done by Cornell. And it kind of showcases all the special use cases that Sapphire unlocks, and only Sapphire can unlock. Maybe we'll talk about this a little bit later as well. And of course, hackathon was part of the conference. We had our bounty of $20,000 out of the total of $40,000 that was possible to get from the hackathon. We had two tracks. One was more Raffle focused. The other one was more Sapphire focused. So we wanted to see what potential use cases hackers were able to build with Raffle and Sapphire in mind. And I think it went really well. So we're going to highlight a few projects today. But let's hear from the guys as well a little bit, their impressions of ETHDAM since the whole team was there. I'd love to hear, Robert, if you tell me, what was kind of the difference between this year and last year for you?
Yeah, so I would say it was largely the same in terms of the focus on privacy, right? So ETHDAM is a bit of a smaller conference, still pretty big. I think around 1,000 people go, but we're all in one kind of narrow, tall building with death stairs that you could trip on. But in all seriousness, basically it's a very high quality participation both in terms of the hackathon and just people coming to the booths. I really enjoyed the conversations I had this year, same as last year. I would say maybe the biggest difference was some of the announcements that we had. Particularly for me, I've been working with Semi-Liquid for the past 5 months or so at this point. And this was kind of the big day to, showcase what they've been building and working on and kind of what they're going to launch eventually. And so we created a lot of, PR around that. They had the demo, not a demo, but a presentation with liquefaction on stage together to kind of discuss the technology, but also how it can be used in kind of a market strategy. So I believe that recording is up already. And then also we were able to record the Privacy Now podcast, which will also be with Rico from Semi-Liquid to get even more details that I don't think has been released yet, but should be coming pretty soon. So yeah, it was a lot of opportunities there in terms of kind of getting the word out on what liquefaction can do, which really excites me. So from an Oasis perspective, I think that was the biggest thing. Otherwise, ETHDAM, there was also kind of the, crypto is political messaging. There was a lot more speakers that I think it was really cool to see speakers that, I mean, maybe it wasn't cool, but people who have been politically persecuted, I guess, due to, technology they might have been building, or, any sort of privacy tech that they've been working on. And so I won't go into crazy detail about that because I'd probably mess it up. But that was really cool to see, main stage, being in the front row, having these people talk about the things they've experienced. And maybe we could talk about that a little more. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaways from this.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, Crypto Canal is really passionate about privacy. It's not just something they say, but they also live it, right? They've been actively helping the Tornado Cash death when he was locked up, protesting there from the courts. They now gave him a platform, so he could describe his, kind of his view of how everything went down. And as you said, right, it's not the biggest conference of the year, but at the same time, the people there are really aligned with what we're working on as well. It's private compute, on-chain privacy, and it's great to have all of those people are kind of aligned on those views in one spot and see what they can build, right? But I think this year, it was the first year that EDM added AI as well to it. So I would love to hear, Marco, what did you notice in terms of any trends with, on the cross section of privacy and AI, or what was interesting to you at ETAM?
I mean, I love ETAM. It's been my third time this year. My second time with Oasis. Actually, last year I was at Oasis for like a week or something before ETAM happened. So it was the first time meeting most of the teams. So it was, anyways, just fun this year to see the difference of the team, what we've done in the past year. But I mean, obviously, yeah, the best part is the privacy focus. We don't have to explain to anyone what TEs are, how to utilize them for privacy. I have to say, I was a bit disappointed by the AI builds. Like, there wasn't that much from the hackathon. To be fair, it was 48 hours. So it's very tough to actually build useful agents, which I guess is a positive, because it would have been very easy for those hackathon builders to just build any kind of the social fun agent. But I guess they really wanted to build something that is value adding and that does also utilize privacy. So that's very difficult to do in 2 days. One of the reasons I am looking forward to Belgrade, where they have a bit more time, and I'm hoping for quite a bit more full-fledged agent solutions. There were a few projects that we got to kind of do some MCP stuff. So Model Context Protocol, which is kind of giving agents access to tools. And we had, I think, 2 projects build out some MCP servers that were running in Ruffle TE Cloud. That was really cool to see. Just still tons of work to be done. And I mean, just to finish, my favorite part about every hackathon is just seeing our developers see other developers use our tech live in action and see where they struggle, because we see this on a daily, where we kind of tell projects, hey, you can build this, then we show them how to do it, and they're like, I don't get it. So they need more, and this time we could actually show our developers like, hey, we need to be a bit more clearer, we need to provide more than primitives. Our tech stack is amazing, but it needs to be very simple to use.
Yeah. I think that's a good point that I think Will probably has more insight on that, because Will, you're always working with the ecosystem native projects, right? And they're kind of the first ones that grab our tech and try to build with it, and then all the hurdles, all the obstacles that they hit, right? You're kind of liaisoning with the engineering team to kind of help solve. So can you tell us more what you saw there? What were kind of the issues? How were they resolved?
Yeah, I would say it was great on, like, let's say the Sapphire side. It was maybe not the first conference, but drastically different than last year in terms of the developer feedback. Developers were very positive, or hackers were very positive in the sense that they said, like, our documentation was straightforward. They figured it out extremely easily, which is great to hear, because, our engineering team, Matej and Bernard, have working very tirelessly on, improving our documentation on the Sapphire side. And I think this is probably the largest hackathon that we've had in terms of usage of Raffle. part of that is because Raffle, has slowly been launched now is like in a place where you can build really cool things. And I think we might have some more announcements at ACC, a little bit of alpha for people. But yeah, it seems like basically our Sapphire sort of documentation and tech stack is right where it needs to be for the developers, and no longer is that like an issue. And our next step is to get Raffle to the same standard, which, I think a hackathon like this where we have 10, 15 projects that are building all on Raffle, it gives the developers the feedback, or our engineers the feedback for where we need to improve our documentation, where we can add features or product requests. And I think that it's really just going to accelerate how fast we can launch our Raffle 2.0 and give the developers that want to use Raffle all the features that they need.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think these hackathons are such high value when it comes to the developer feedback. Where they need to build fast, right? But they still need to build something that makes sense, that's useful, that's working. So yeah, you need to be quick to resolve issues, and then it gives us a really good opportunity to collect a lot of this feedback in a short amount of time and try to improve on it. Hopefully, we are participating in the hackathon as a sponsor at ETC as well, or ETH Global. It's actually after ETC. So hopefully, Raffle will be already at a higher bar when we come to that one. When it comes to how easy it's going to be for developers to use. But yeah, definitely agree there that the feedback is super valuable. Maybe we move on and jump into the kind of the top 3 projects that got awarded from our side at ETH. So each sponsor decides who's the winner of their track. So for our tracks, it was us actually selecting winners. And the funny thing was that I think these winners from our track were also the winners, at least some the winners of the main track as well. So I guess other people saw big potential and just a great value add from the apps that were built from the main track as well. And yeah, the ones that we're going to talk about are Raffledam, Health Trust, and Momcraft. And I would ask each one of you to kind of tell us a bit more about, just the general idea, like an elevator pitch, and then we can discuss them a little bit more to see, what each person liked or disliked about the idea, how to utilize our tech, all that. So maybe we can start with you, Robert, again, and give us a kind of a short intro into what Raffledam was, and then let's see what others have to say about it as well.
Sure. So basically, Raffledam, in a nutshell, is a chat application, but the implementation is where the real value is, I think. So typical on-chain chat applications, email applications, these sort of things. Before Sapphire, of course, anything would be public that you send. So that really was a no-go for most communication. With Sapphire, then you are able to get this on-chain storage that's encrypted transactions, and therefore you can have kind of an email service. I like to call it email because of 6-second block times, you really can't have instant messaging. You are going to have that little bit of a delay. So it didn't really lend itself well towards things like Discord, Slack, things that a lot of people now use on a daily basis just for general communication with friends, family, coworkers, etc. So Raffle is basically the next step in allowing these really scalable and low latency types of applications, especially around communication. So Raffledam, obviously, because I'm talking about this, is we're trying to solve this. So for the hackathon, that they won first place, actually, I believe, for both the Raffle track and the Sapphire track. But basically, the way it works is they use a Nostr relay. They have a database in MongoDB. But it's using Raffle for all the functionality in terms of maintaining user privacy and handling communications between people. And so basically, this makes it pretty robust, I would say, in terms of being censorship resistant, right? So we see kind of traditional Web2 chat applications like Signal and Telegram. They're pretty good. I would say Signal's perhaps better, but they're pretty good. But you don't always have, you kind of have to depend on a cloud service, right? And if it's end-to-end encrypted, that's fine. But you may want greater functionality that crypto can offer that traditional Web2 applications can't offer. So they kind of took the next step and went beyond just chatting and thought about alternative features such as paywalls. Maybe you have to pay to enter a certain chat. You can pay for that in a decentralized way on chain. Maybe you want to be able to monetize your group itself, where each message is something that has to be paid, or maybe it's a subscription model. So it's not just the privacy aspect, it's also the crypto aspect kind of coming together on that. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. We want to continue to work with them. They seem interested in continuing to build on Oasis. And so I'm really excited about that. So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the coming months. But yeah, I'll kind of leave the floor open about Rotterdam.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I mean, from my perspective, I think in the past, it was difficult to even kind of envision group chats on chain, right? Because usually you were able to do end-to-end encryption between two users, right? But having then a group interact in private on chain, it was like mission impossible, at least from my experience speaking to all these potential chat applications, right? And here with Raffle, right? It just makes it so simple. And as you said, right, with the paywalls, how you can, I think this is kind of an upgrade also to the FriendTech. If you remember, you guys remember that project, right, where people buying certain KOL's shares, and then there's a lot of pump and dumping of that, right? And maybe the core idea wasn't bad, but then the execution, I mean, I think people just got stuck holding those shares and no real way to monetize them. And here, maybe a group chat is where you just kind of pay a fee to enter, and maybe there are some levels to it, right? It makes more sense, right? Because there's a lot of transactional business happening within crypto. So yeah, from my perspective, a really cool project. What about you, Marco? Any insights, thoughts about this one?
I would say I like the comparison to FriendTech. I mean, I think it's less gamified, less, maybe let's say, extractionary than FriendTech. More, you can create more like Web2 type business models where it's like maybe you create ads through it, or maybe you create, like you said, paywalled, content, sort of like Patreon or things of this nature. So I like it for that reason. I think that one of the things I always talk about is, or in general, I think Web3 is trying to compete with Web2. And sometimes we have to create like these play to earn models or this FriendTech model where the only way we can get people through into the ecosystem is through sort of incentivization and gamification. And I always enjoy it when we can see, let's say, more traditional, less extractionary projects, more sophistication coming to Web3. And that's what I've always thought about Oasis, is by having this confidentiality that's so flexible, like you said, you can now create group chats instead of just user to user end-to-end encrypted. You can actually have it be flexible. I think that Oasis's tech stack really improves or pushes forward what can be done in Web3 in terms of sophistication of smart contracts. And, I think for a while during hackathons, we didn't see people exploring that. They were, exploring the basic use cases of, let's say, DEXs, lending protocols, basic ideas. And now we're really starting to see people, push the boundary of what Oasis can do and what uniquely it can do that cannot be done on any other network. So I think Rotterdam is, a great demonstration of that, and that's probably why they won the hackathon.
I mean, the value proposition of it is so clear. It makes so much sense. But that's why I hated when they pitched it as pump.fun for alpha group chats. I was like, come on, it doesn't need to be any .fun kind of solution. It just makes sense. It honestly is like a perfect hackathon project. Very easy to understand. It utilizes the tech very well. It was actually very easy to test for our devs. I mean, the Ruffle part had some problems with the deployment, but I think that was very fair. The code was really clean, coherent. It did make sense. I really enjoyed it. I mean, definitely deserve number one.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. When it was pitched it. It's not fun. I was like, what the hell, guys, come on. This could be a serious project, right? It doesn't have to be another meme coin type extractive event, right? Yeah. Completely agree. And the guys deserved it. We're in a chat with them, so we're definitely gonna continue and see if this can get built out into a more serious product. Will, you want to add something?
I was going to ask, Robert, we have a different product that's also building something similar, right? We can sort of see it's already getting some on-chain traction. I don't know if it's been announced yet, so that's why I sort of hesitated.
Yeah, no, I mean, we announced the grant for them, so I think it's fine. Diode, basically, so they have their own, I won't go too much into it. This is really a hackathon call, but we do have a partner, Diode, who we announced a grant for in April, and they're building a zero trust network that now is going to leverage Oasis privacy, Sapphire privacy specifically, while the I guess the off-chain part is kind of handled by their network, and they built something actually, I would say, quite complex and sophisticated. That it's a little bit different. It's more deep in. I think they're just two different approaches to kind of the same goal. But yeah, we're very happy that they. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess my point was just that, like, we do see market demand for, let's say, the non-pumped out fund sort of version of this, and
absolutely,
so, yeah, it's good to see different products all converge to the same like sort of this is valuable, and that's all I was trying to point out.
But I think it's not limited to just one, right? You have Slack and you have Telegram and you have Signal, right? Like, no family is using Slack for their messaging, right? At least I don't know one. Maybe there is, some very hyper.
You and today.
Yeah, I mean, that's business. For families, still use Signal. So, it's. I think it's just a testament to people realizing what the tech can do and then applying it to different kind of use cases. As you said, Robert, with semi-liquid is the same thing, right? It's just unlocking so many use cases that are only possible via Sapphire, right? So I'm really enjoying this period where we're seeing so much development and interest into Sapphire and Ruffle. But let's move on to the next one, and maybe Marco, you can take us through Health Trust. What was it about, and what you kind of liked about it?
This was also very cool. No, I did like it. It was a 2-person team, and they had this very clean solution where the idea was, hey, most of us have some wearables. Our phone is also tracking some health data, but there really is no way to monetize this. Of course, you can use it for yourself for some kind of analytics, but their idea was, hey, let's build a marketplace for this kind of data. Of course, it needs to be anonymous, it needs to be encrypted, but there should also be a way to do computation on this data. So what they did is you kind of collect this data, or you have it anyways through your wearable, then you encrypt it with the TE's public key, and you store it on IPFS, which by itself is already very cool. Like, we should be using more technologies together with Oasis. And then what they use the chain for is actually access management. So the smart contract does emit an event that someone wants to check the data or wants to do some computation on the data. This goes into a Ruffle application, and within the TE, it pulls the data from IPFS, it decrypts the data, and then does the computation. I don't know, I think in the example they gave, like, computation was something like an average of your steps of the week or something. Like, basic computation can easily be done in a Ruffle app. You just kind of have Ruffle TDX machines, and they built this like very cleanly. They did struggle a bit with encrypting metadata. This was very publicly accessible, but for Hackathon, this was great. This is an idea that always comes up. You utilize Sapphire or Oasis for kind of this access management, because it's very nice to actually distribute encryption and decryption keys. And they did a great job. So they got number 2.
Yeah, definitely. Health data management is one of the use cases that gets thrown around quite a bit with Sapphire, because everybody knows, like, PII or any other personal information, right, needs privacy. So it's a very straightforward case. But what I liked about it here is they went into the direction where it's, people sharing their variable data, right? Because if when you go to patient data, then you're stepping into the whole medical field, and there's a lot of protections around who can access that data, and then you're just met with a wall of compliance and legal work before you can do anything, right? But here, I think with the variable data, right, I think it's still valuable. So you have entities on the market that will definitely buy this, but at the same time, access to it's a lot simpler because you have user opt-in on their app, right? It's not going through this big medical infrastructure, right, that you need to tap in. And I think in the past we got a lot of projects, kind of coming to us for grants in terms of building a system that would be sharing medical data, patient data between different medical institutions, stuff like that. We're doing some AI training on that. There was just, very hard to kind of see a quick path to production with that because of all the legal overhead. But this one, I think you can actually build it out and see how much traction you can get. At least from my side, maybe Robert will.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, last year we had a similar project. It was blockchain of things, and they did it differently because they actually had a Raspberry Pi with them, so they utilized it for like environment data, weather, noise, etc. And that's what they were streaming. The idea was a bit different because they were streaming this data on chain and using Sapphire's privacy for monetization, similarly as Ocean's Predictor does it. But this was very cool because they also had kind of figured out, hey, it does make sense to store this off chain in IPFS. And now I have Ruffle as a tool, which the team last year didn't have. And I kind of combine these two techs.
Yeah, 100%. Will, Rob, any insights, thoughts from your side?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think I agree. This is something that we've seen, kind of over and over again in different implementations and approaches. Just the whole healthcare data privacy nut needs to be cracked. And I think now with Raffle, we're kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is Oasis knew about these problems from its inception. We were building towards being able to solve these kind of problems in terms of data silos and being able to leverage private data, PII, that sort of stuff. And with just Sapphire by itself, it wasn't really a workable solution. It was technically doable, but not clean, right? And now with Raffle combining with Sapphire, I think we're going to start to see this really become possible in a marketable way. That really excites me because personally, I've been trying to work with a lot of DeSci projects and kind of push that space forward. I think it's really important to me just from a moral perspective. If we want to talk about ETH-DAM and crypto being political, well, it's also kind of philosophical, right? So DeSci to me is very important. I think crypto goes hand in hand with that. This is right up my alley. And yeah, I think they did a great job in terms of implementing it and thinking it through each step needed to actually share the data, compute on the data. So I'm really excited to see these sorts of things built in the future. And yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, the PhD engineer is still inside you. I see, right? You're not just a crypto bro.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'd love to combine the two somehow.
Yeah, what about you, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Marco and Robert covered it. As I said, we've seen it a few times. I think this is one of the more robust versions. Unfortunately, in like a 48-hour hackathon, it's hard to, build out an entire marketplace. There's a reason why we haven't really seen one get adopted in crypto. It's a hard problem to solve. But I'd love for like the future hackathons, and we could talk about maybe Belgrade coming up. I'd love for someone to focus more on the compute side that comes next. So maybe create some synthetic data for a hackathon and then actually run some computation on it. I think we've gotten to the point where it's fairly trivial just using the previous repos from hackathons to build the storage aspect and the first person sharing of data with the storage. And now I'd love to see the innovation on the computation side, whether that be through federated learning, differential privacy. I mean, it doesn't even have to use any sort of machine learning or AI. It could just do a basic computation on people's data But I'd love for that aspect to be explored in the next hackathon.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad idea. Yeah, of course, it's hard to envision if you don't have like a a data set ready. What you're going to be doing, but that kind of leads you into thinking about these problems. How to. I think Ocean actually had competitions like this, if I'm not mistaken, in the past as well. And yeah, maybe it makes sense here, right? Because for them it was more. I don't remember exactly, but kind of trying to find the best result from the data, right? But here it's probably more how to even do the modeling, do the calculations over the data that you are supplied with in a more trustless way. So it's not about that much about the outcome, but just the process of doing it, right? So yeah, cool idea. We're going to discuss a little bit of use cases later as well, and you can take us more a bit deeper into the federated learning stuff. But let's first cover also the third place raffle winner, which was Minecraft, and maybe Will, you can guide us through that one.
Yeah, so Minecraft, from my understanding, is a play on like Pokemon and Minecraft. And the idea is that it's sort of this grid style. So that's where like the Minecraft aspect comes around. Pokemon game where you can move around the map and catch Pokemon and encounter fights and trainers and things of that nature. But the way that it's built leverages both Sapphire and Raffle in this pretty interesting, like interconnected way. So the game client connects to Raffle instances through WebSockets, and then the player moves around the grid. Raffle invokes a view function for the Minecraft smart contracts and determines if monsters appear. This uses Sapphire's secure randomness to make sure every encounter is unpredictable and tamper-proof. And if a monster appears, the player can choose to attempt to capture it or to fight it. So this is all like a really cool way of using both Sapphire and Raffle. If you do capture the monster is added to the player's current session, and then the player sort of receives an NFT on Sapphire with unique attributes such as HP, attack damage, appearance, and other stats. And then it uses, I guess, Raffle and Sapphire to create the RNG for the appearance rates and capture probabilities. So what I liked about this product was that it, used both Sapphire and Raffle sort of interchangeably. And we have a nice diagram in our repo about it, but I don't know if we can share that when we do the sort of overview. But on top of that, they also use game sessions. So they use Raffle to create a lower barrier to entry to the game. So there's no gas that's needed. No wallet is required to start playing. When a session begins, a unique private access code is generated, allowing players to return and resume progress later. And then Raffle signs all the transactions on behalf of the user during the gameplay. So this is like, I don't know. I think that Web3 gaming has not really taken off. So in terms of like network usage, I'm not sure like this is, a massive step forward. But at the same time, like one of the issues I think with Web3 gaming is that blockchains by themselves are a little too small, or not too small, too slow to create like compelling gameplay. There's too much latency, even with 6 seconds block time. I mean, if you even get the block times down to like 2 seconds, people would still, I think, have a problem with the amount of transactions they have to sign and just how slow things move. So I really like this approach of taking, Raffle and using it as sort of an off-chain game engine, right? And that's what it is. It's a cloud, so it can be used like an AWS server, or it can be used like a Microsoft server. It's just a cloud service provider. With the added benefit of having confidentiality and the ability to remotely attest to blockchains. So I think this is a really cool approach and can be useful for not just games like this, but really any sort of game that wants to build a great Web3 user experience while having it have the sort of decentralization and trustless assumptions that come with blockchain, which is something that we've always talked about. Is like Web3 gaming is only compelling if you also don't sacrifice the decentralization and the trustlessness.
Yeah, I mean, I think even you mentioned, even the block times would be smaller. I think there's Mega ETH that's now doing real-time blockchain, right? So they had this game where then a bunny was jumping around, and every little jump, because they're saying blocks, I don't know, 100 milliseconds or something like that, right? So don't quote me on it, I'm not sure, but it's in the milliseconds. So each jump was a transaction on chain, right? So that was like just, transactions were spinning just like in the Matrix, right? And I don't think that even makes sense, right? Because for a game, you only need like the final verifiability that it was executed as it was supposed to. If there's randomness involved, that it was truly random, it wasn't tampered with, that it was a fair game, that, as you said, you can attest basically the game logic, that it wasn't corrupted, and that's it. I don't think, even here, I think the implementation was a bit, it was done a bit more around the bend, because they were using randomness from Sapphire instead of the native randomness of Ruffle, which would even speed up the game a little bit here. But I guess
I think sometimes hackathons, when you have multiple tracks, right, people are incentivized to do things that hit more tracks than maybe build the most compelling game or something like that. But
that's true. That is true. Yeah. But I'm just saying, yeah, it's Raffle, as you said, it's like your game engine, with the added benefit of confidentiality, trustlessness. So I hope that we're going to see more games, because those are fun for users to interact with. And here, I think you're not sacrificing anything by it being the crypto game, Web3 game. Yeah, sorry. I'm always chiming in first, but yeah, Mark, Robert, please go. Go.
I do agree. I mean, gaming has kind of slowed down. I don't talk to that many gaming projects. I mean, I do try to focus on the AI stuff anyways, but funny enough, Andrew Miller was at the conference too, and he was like, hey, I have a Minecraft server and I want to put it in a Ruffle app. So it just does make so much sense to utilize Ruffle, or as Will explained, like it's pretty much a TE cloud for hosting these kind of applications and games. And then, as you guys just explained, not everything needs to be a transaction on chain. Actually, the less the better. You just kind of summarize the relevant state, and that's what you put on chain, and then you continue. So the game can run smoothly as it would without any chain benefits or features. So yeah, I definitely think it's still going to take a bit for people to get this, but then we will see some very smooth games.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to think, like, I think the most important part is just like, if there is an item, like put that NFT on chain to create sort of decentralized gaming marketplace. I think like this is my biggest issue when I used to play games on Steam and stuff like that, is that I had to go through the Steam store, and like certain items couldn't be bought or sold, and there's a massive tax on selling items and things of that nature. So I really do think the biggest benefit will come from like the NFT aspect being on chain, but I think almost everything else can be done in a server.
Yeah, I just want to add, this is maybe a little bit out there, but I think, we like to talk about this lofty idea of games and Web3 and crypto, and maybe a lot of people don't believe it, but in my personal experience, there was a Minecraft server I was playing on, and it was an anarchy server. So the whole goal here is to, find other players' bases and steal their items and that sort of thing. And so a problem arose where the admin wanted to sell the server, but who do you sell it to? Because if you sell it to someone who's malicious, now they have all of the user data, all of the locations and everything. And so you have to actually be really selective about how you do that. And I had the thought at the time, well, what if this was all on a TE? Then would it matter who actually owns the server hardware, who monetizes this? I don't think it would matter then. Perhaps, we're well a ways from doing that in reality, but it's not a crazy idea. Like, there are people out there that actually would appreciate this. And so, yeah, this is kind of just another way of making a step towards that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in the gaming space for quite a bit, so not sure how, even, all the potential like Steam type plays. I haven't played it I'm more from the era of, you bought the DVD, where you played some multiplayer on some cracked servers, where you didn't, pay any subscription or anything like that. But I guess those are some of the issues that could be resolved with Raffle in this new era of gaming. Any last thoughts on ETHDAM that you want to share with the audience here? From my side, it's just it was a really cool one this year as well. Like I think similar to last year, we got a lot of interesting projects building on Oasis. A lot of interesting talks there as well. Interesting, people coming to the booth. I think we also had the best swag on at the conference this year again. So props to the events team. They always come up with the crazy ideas. I got sent exactly. That's one of the shirts. But today I got sent an image of somebody in Germany singing in one of our shirts from ETHDAM. So crazy how people love the designs. Thank you to the design and events team. But any last thoughts about ETHDAM from your side?
We didn't jump into it too much on the call, but we did have a great panel on liquefaction. Just encourage people to go check out that panel or the Privacy Now podcast with SemiLiquid. Also, we'll do an ecosystem highlight with Danny from Cornell Tech that we're recording tomorrow, so it should be out later this week. So there's tons of content on liquefaction. I do encourage everyone to check it out because it's cutting edge research from one of the top institutions in the world, which uniquely uses Oasis. No other blockchain can do it to open up new use cases, some adversarial use cases as well, but we'll focus on the beneficial ones that can push Web3 forward. And I think it's one of the most exciting things that is possible for our network, and something that we're definitely going to lean into on the ecosystem side for the upcoming year or so. If you want to learn more about that, we have a ton of content, and just follow our accounts to get those videos and privacy podcasts.
Locked file. That's going to be a new vertical only possible.
Marco has come up with the term LockedFi for liquefaction use cases. And,
did you coin it to Laura?
If it catches on, it's entirely his idea.
For me, it's incredible to see the story of SemiLiquid. They got in their inbox the paper from liquefaction, and they read it and were like, oh wow, there's some really cool use cases. And for those that haven't checked it, just open the paper, you can find it, just type in liquefaction and go on page 12, and you see 15 use cases that are possible, and SemiLiquid just pick one. And they were like, man, this is so incredible, we will turn this into a company. And now they are looking like a rather successful startup. Fingers crossed they managed to successfully close the round. But for me, it's such a cool story, and I would just encourage everyone to just check out the paper, and maybe one of the ideas also excites you.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's not at that start, going from a research paper and taking your idea there. I think a lot of projects come from like Vitalik's papers, the blog posts that he does, right? He's just thinking about what would be cool to see in the future, right? And then people take the idea and build it out, So I think he did a summary. I'm not sure it was last year or the year before, when he looked at past his past blog posts and the ideas he put forward, and then he was looking at the successful project that kind of were building on that idea, and there were quite a few. Go check out liquefaction, as Marco said. Robert, any last thoughts from your side?
No, I think you guys have
we still have Belgrade.
That's true. Okay, no, please go.
Okay. Then I would just want to highlight Belgrade, where we're going next, and there we're also gonna have there's gonna be a conference and a hackathon. We're gonna have a booth there. So if you're in the vicinity, if you're coming to Belgrade, do stop by, say hi. Me and Mark are gonna be there. And we also have a few other members from the team. I'm having a talk there. We're also going to have a workshop there. So there's going to be quite a few speaking opportunities there as well. And I'm excited for it because it's another hackathon, so another chance to get a bunch of projects building on Oasis, building on Raffle or with Raffle. So maybe here, because we covered the past hackathon, what was built, and now you get a chance to talk about what would you would like to see built. Similar to how liquefaction paper gives out use cases, then people build them out. We can maybe try, or Vitalik, right? We can try here for you guys to kind of bring forward some ideas you'd like to see built, and let's see if somebody listens in and takes it for Belgrade. Let's start with you, Will, because you were always last. Like, what's the use case for you when it comes to Raffle that you like to see built?
Oh, okay. So specifically Raffle.
Yeah, it's going to be both. It's Raffle and Sapphire. But on Sapphire, I know you're going to say liquefaction use cases, so that's why I'm pushing to Raffle.
Yeah. So with Raffle, I think I kind of shared it earlier, but I think that I would love to see people explore the more confidential compute side of Raffle. So we've seen a lot of people deal with like the access control and the storage of confidential data. But no one has really done that much, I think, in terms of computing on that confidential data. At least like not in a like maybe someone computes on it, but it's like just like querying it and getting a result. Like let's say average something. It'd be great to see like more advanced sort of statistics being drawn. Like let's say correlations between two different forms of stats. Or integrating some other confidential computes like federated learning, differential privacy. Obviously, these are complex ideas. They're kind of hard in a hackathon, but I think if by leveraging, by focusing on like let's say synthetic data sets and stuff like that, instead of trying to build the entire marketplace from scratch, that's possible. Also, the marketplace side, if someone can, sort of create a compelling interface for how to buy and access data, that would be cool. But yeah, I think we've done enough in terms of storing our confidential data, and now it's time for hackathons projects to hopefully start creating more the full stack of the computation side as well. Maybe what's another Raffle use case I can think of?
You can tell us your Sapphire use case as well. Maybe
okay.
an idea for liquefaction that hasn't been implemented yet.
Yeah. So Sapphire use cases. One idea that I was talking to someone at ETHDAM about was second price sealed bid auctions. This is something that I've wanted for a long time. We have sealed bid auctions, and quite a few projects have done that in the past. But second price sealed bid auctions have a little bit more logic involved, where you have to create an auction mechanism where the person who wins actually pays the price of the second place person, and the second place person pays the price of the third place person. There's a great paper from Andreessen Horowitz, a great 5-part series by Andreessen Horowitz talking about the different auction mechanisms and why second price sealed bid auction would be the best for Web3. So I'd love to see something built out there. And then in terms of liquefaction, there's so many use cases. I think the one that I would like to see that is also probably great for a hackathon is to take the Cornell demo called Take My Ape and expand it to, let's say, not that one NFT that Cornell has, but open it up so anyone can sort of create rentals of any NFT. I think that with hackathons, I always try to think about like what has been done and like what can you leverage that's already been done and take like one more step forward. And I think that would be one that is interesting. So Take My Ape is a demo built by Cornell, where you can rent a Bored Ape for like 15 minutes or as long as it takes till someone else outbids you again. And I'd love for that to be like sort of opened up to more NFTs. And then I think that has applications for specifically like events and ticketing and stuff like that in the future. It can be a whole other company, just like Semi Liquid. So I would love to see that in a hackathon.
All right. Yeah. This second, what did you say? The second bid auction
second price sealed bid auction.
Second price sealed bid auction. Yeah. That would be interesting. Haven't seen that yet. Yeah. What about you? Robert, you were going to go last because you always went first. So Marco, your kind of expectations for Intel, what would you like to see built?
I mean, I teased it in the beginning, right? I complained that there weren't good agents at ETHDAM because there wasn't enough time. So now there's actually 24 hours more, and we will be there to support quite a bit. I mean, we have to give props to our engineers again. I mean, Bernhard and Mateusz, they went like even after our team dinners back to the venue and they stayed with the hackers until like 4 a.m. or something. So definitely hats off to them. And we will try to do the same this time in ETH Belgrade too. I definitely want to see some agents. We promised on stage, or rather I did, that we will provide the jailbreak agent that users can play around with and try to get a secret out of the agent. We didn't deliver on the promise. So the hackers in Belgrade can do better. They can use what we've already built. I think it's open source, so we will do it, and they can build something fun with it. They can build even like just fun agents. For example, you have to flirt with it, and once you get a score, you get a reward. I don't care. I just want to see some cool agent applications running in a Ruffle application. Ruffle instance. We have WT3. It's a trading agent that we built. It's pretty much open source, just the trading strategy isn't. But that's where people can get creative and just use their own trading strategy because they might think there's some alpha that only they have access to. Do yield optimization. Just pick a couple of protocols, and those are the ones where users can or the agent can deploy stable coins, and users and you kind of build everything as a Ruffle app, so the private keys are generated within the TE. You show your users, hey, I don't have access to anything. This is a trustless agent. I would even love to see stuff like LLM oracles. I know we have some teams experimenting with this currently, where you kind of use an LLM to oracle off-chain information back on-chain, and the LLM is also the filter for some data. Could be cool. Definitely makes sense to have as a Ruffle app. For example, for like prediction markets, just use an LLM as the filter, and you don't need something like UMA to reach a quorum. I don't know, lots of stuff to be done. I'm excited about the agent things.
Yeah, I mean, so say for me, like I think agents will be a big thing this year. I talked about it in every talk I give, and I'm hoping, I'm hopeful as you that we're gonna see some more agents popping up in Belgrade. Robert, what about you?
Yeah, I would say, without repeating other people's or copying their ideas, probably liquefaction use cases. I think that's the most exciting. Key encumbrance. Before I even realized what key encumbrance was, I was fascinated by it, and I would always tell people that my favorite apps on Sapphire are the ones that don't use privacy for privacy, but they use it just for new things. And that was a really weird, vague way of putting it, but now we obviously have this more fleshed out model. But to, I guess, give my own unique take that hasn't already been said, again, I think DeSci is really cool. I think so far in hackathons, though, we've really just seen kind of data marketplaces, which is fine, but I think there's a lot of other opportunities for different parts of this kind of sphere. One of them maybe being on-chain peer review, because this generally peer review is not, your names are not given out freely. You might have some inclination of knowing in your field of who's reviewing what, but this is something that would benefit from privacy. Besides that, I think just anything involving I guess like annotation of data or annotation of research, publications, that sort of thing. I think that's been largely unexplored from what I've seen, and I think it would be really cool to be seen in a hackathon. And I mean, I don't know the exact go-to-market viability of any of these things. It's all very new, but that's what hackathons are for. It's to explore these ideas. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few people from the EU Belgrade community actually active in the DeSci space. I think we had some guests from the Balkan region at ETH Slovenia events as well, if I remember correctly. So let's see. Maybe there will be a team diving deeper into that one. From my side, I probably just agents and DeFi. That's the thing I'm most bullish on and most excited about. Liquefaction obviously is a very interesting use case for Sapphire, but I'm still sticking to the things I know best. I'm hoping there's going to be some like cool neat integrations, utilizing Ruffle and then plugging in different solutions. I'm just curious to see what people are able to build. I think that's that's about it for today. I think we covered everything. Any last thoughts on ETHDAM or Belgrade, or maybe even ETC? Do you have any expectations, hopes, or any insights? I think we shared enough, huh? Yeah. I
would just suggest don't get too wasted at Proof of Rakia. It's a dangerous event.
Yeah, for everybody new to the Belgrade community, they have this side event called Proof of Rakia, and it goes by, every attendee brings their own best Raki. So there's usually 30, 40, 50 Rakis there, and there's a tasting that happens during the event. Usually pretty fun. There was one at ETC last year. It was at DEF CON in Bangkok, and there's definitely going to be one at Belgrade as well. So yeah, they know how to spice it up. As I said, if you're in the area, go and come to Belgrade, visit us at a booth. Listen to the talks, listen to the workshops. I think it's going to be an interesting one. So yeah, I think that's it from us for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And yeah, until the next one.